Welcome. It's Tal, GP, and we've got.
Sanam, I'm a primary care network manager.
And today we've got like a world special treat for you. Enter. Hello, yay! Applause. Can you do applause? Sorry. You can find it. Get some. Search up the music.
Can we just
whilst you're doing that, Helen and I go back a long way, don't we?
We do.
Long time. How long ago was it?
Oh, I don't know. It must be 10 years.
It was way before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And so I was on a coaching course, and you were the lecturer and stuff, and you taught me all I know about coaching, which is
which is a lot, isn't it, Tal?
I could put all I know onto a postage stamp, I reckon.
It'd be a very effective postage stamp.
Yeah, and you know what? That's your fault, because it's about teachers. You always got to blame the teachers if you don't know anything. But yeah, so and actually I still have coaching sessions with you. So but yeah, do you want to just tell me a little bit about you? So you do teaching, and you also do sort of support executive coaching and stuff, don't you, as well?
Yeah. I guess it all started from being interested in people, an avid people watcher, which I still am. I love why we do what we do. And so I went on to do psychology, and from there worked in training and development and organizational development, which I loved, working with teams, and then became a coach. So working with people one-on-one, like Tal, in all different industries and all different age groups, and also with teams, whether the senior leadership teams in corporate offices or charities or really different places, and also training people in the skills of coaching. So whether that's just a really short introduction or whether it's much longer than that.
Well, I think that's fantastic. So Sanam and I and Syra, who's off camera at the moment because we just fallen out of a situation. We've just done these one-to-one catch-ups with staff in our primary care network. Sanam, what's a primary care network?
So a primary care network is a network of member practices. So we're based in Hounslow. So we've got 8 practices within our network. I think it's made up of around 70,000 patients. And we basically offer services that a normal sort of practice wouldn't. So certain sort of staffing, so pharmacists, physician associates, physiotherapists. So it's like a mix of roles that aren't normally within like a GP setting is what we sort of offer. So we have a team of around sort of 30 staff members.
And the coaching stuff, we try to, this is the amateur version of career coaching. So do you want to talk through, what we'll do is we'll talk you through what we did with this, with all the knowledge and power that you've given me over the years. Then you can just tell us what we should have done. So, right, go for it, Sanam.
Yeah, so obviously within our PCN, we do have clinical tutors, which kind of offer the sort of coaching and mentoring sort of service that we didn't have before. That isn't being used very well right now currently. I don't know whether it's a communication issue or
I don't know. Helen, could you coaching and mentoring, what is that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And there are many definitions. The one I work to is mentoring is more guidance, and it's a more directive way of being. So you might say, I did this like that, go and try it in these 5 steps. So it is quite specific, it's quite directive, and you might suggest things. Whereas coaching is much more about being non-directive and pulling the answers out of the person that you are talking to. So mentoring can be more tell, and coaching can be more ask, and they sit really well together as well.
And to mentor, you have to be in the same sort of, you have to understand the person's competencies and stuff.
Absolutely. So to mentor, generally you would be in the same field, so you're sharing some level of expertise, whereas in coaching, for example, my clients are GPs and all CEOs and people in all different walks of life, and I'm definitely not an expert in all those things. My expertise is in people and communication and helping people figure out their own stuff.
And which is better? What should you use when? Do you think I think
it's
tricky.
it's about knowing how to pull on both when appropriate. So if it's something to do with a role and somebody needs to learn a specific skill, you might start with being a bit more directive to give them a good start, and then use some coaching skills to say, how did that go? What might you try next? So you can really blend the two together. For using coaching, for example, when you're teaching someone how to tie a shoelace, you probably wouldn't start there because it would take you days to try and coach someone if they have no idea how to tie a shoelace. Coaching might not be the right approach, whereas mentoring probably would be. So as a leader, it's teaching leaders to be able to draw on these skills as appropriate and use them.
I think I've definitely learned that. So I did a coaching and mentoring course last year. It's like a 2-day thing.
Oh my God, this is like a professional coaching and mentoring conference.
I did that. And I learned a lot, because I think as a manager, I think you just automatically, when someone comes with, to you with a problem, my automatic is, right, let me solve it. Let me do this for them. Let me do that. And as I went on that course, obviously, as I've been in this role for a while now, I've learned actually to take a step back. Because a lot of the time when people come to you with a problem, they know what the solution is anyways. So I tend to be like, right, so what do you want? Like, what would you want the solution to be? And they're like, oh, well, I want this. And I'm like, okay, go and do it. Like, a lot of the time, like I've noticed with staff, is that they come with, oh, this doesn't work, or that doesn't work. And I was getting so many queries about things like, yeah, but I don't know how to do that either, but what do you think you should do? And then they know what they need to do, and then they go and do it. And I think, as you said, it's about a mixture. Obviously, if someone's new, then obviously I'm going to tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that. But a lot of the time it is senior members of staff that know exactly what to do, but they just don't know how to go about it. Or do they want validation of, yeah, you're doing the right thing?
Absolutely.
But a lot of the time I've now started to push back, and it's made my life a lot easier as well, because I'm not coming up with solutions that I don't know anything about. And I think being in a non-clinical space, being non-clinical in a clinical space, it's very difficult, because then they could turn around and say, well, you told me to do that. And that's when I'm like, oh, sorry. So now it's like pushing the responsibility back on people does help them, because they feel empowered because they've come up with that decision themselves, rather than you telling them what to do. So I've noticed that, and I think that definitely helps.
And that's really, really good to hear from your perspective. And I think that word you use there of empowerment, I think that's the huge difference for me, is rather than someone saying, well, what do I do now? I'll go and do that. What do I do now? I'll go and do that. It helps people build their confidence, which is a topic that's so important, because they realize, oh, I thought of that. I did that. I've got these, I'm building a toolkit within me. I don't need other people always to tell me what to do. And I think I always use the analogy of pens in this kind of situation. As leaders and managers, we get a lot of pens. Don't people come and say if the pen represents a challenge or a question or a query? And we can soon have so many pens because everyone's come to us and said, can you help me with this? And some of those pens might be ours to handle as leaders and managers, but equally, as you've recognised, we can give quite a few back and say, I still care about your pen.
Yeah.
But what do you want to do with that? I'm still here. I'm going to ask you questions, but I'm not taking the pen. And if we've gone into roles like managing teams or coaching, or we probably are a people person, and we might be tempted to take the pen because we want to fix and we want to help. And if people want to give us the pen, that's the environment where you get stuck in that pattern. So the pen analogy, I just think, is really visual to help us remember to ensure it's where it needs to be.
I think the mentoring thing, there's a real temptation of, I did this, you do that. So take the pen because I've used it before. But coaching is just kind of much more kind of open. So what we'll do, Hannah, is we'll give you our Mickey Mouse amateur version of career coaching, and then perhaps you could come in and sort of share your thoughts on some additional things that we could do. So
we did one-to-ones with all our staff, so we have around sort of 30, all different roles, some clinical, some non-clinical. And I think as a network, we want to develop our staff, but not in a way where they don't need to sort of stay with us forever. We always want people, if they want to go elsewhere, we don't want to say, no, don't leave, because then we have to find someone, we have to put an ad out. We don't think like that. It's very, okay, where do you want to go? Let's help. So we've got a few people that are very interested in certain roles, and they know that there's not that much progression where they are now. So we're saying to them, go find a job description that you really want to, apply to, bring it back to us, and then we can see sort of how we can help you within the job you're in, give you extra sort of work projects to work on or different responsibilities, which you can put into your CV and then, move forward and develop. So we've obviously had quite a few people interested, and, they've come to us with, we want to do a course because a lot of jobs need qualifications and all that sort of stuff. So there's no problem there. But I think what we would want to know is how do we move forward with that? So it's easy for us to say, yeah, we'll give you a project, but like, how do we not make it where it's like, right, we're telling you go and do this project? We want to empower them, but in a way that they've come up with this themselves.
Yeah, and one of the things we kind of encourage people to kind of do is, what we found is that people got lots of skills which they're not using from previous roles and stuff. And so and we kind of encourage people to try and build a story in their CV so that it kind of makes logical sense for you to a prospective employer. So we spend a lot of time encouraging people to leave.
Yeah, but I think that's it's good.
But those two tips are kind of looking at other roles and stuff and the job descriptions and the skill sets and matching us, trying to find opportunities to kind of gain those skills whilst also trying to encourage people to develop themes and stories in their CVs. Are they okay for starters for 10, and what else should we be doing?
I love it. I can imagine how having that transparent conversation increases motivation and energy, because people can work with their why. What's this about for me? What am I doing here that connects to where I want to go next? So I love that as a concept. And I think to use coaching in that kind of setting, it's being able to ask lots of lovely open questions about, where is it you want to be? What is it you need to get there? What have you already got that you could use? What have you got that might be a bit left field? What opportunities do you see here? What could get in your way? What are the risks? What do you need from me? What do you need from yourself? It's all those lovely open questions where the person has to look inside and find their own answers to that and own it as well. Because coaching is a lot about asking questions to raise awareness so that people can make a choice. And I think that feels like it's really applicable in this situation. Your roles may be to help that person raise awareness of their landscape, what they want, where they are, what the gap is, how they might get there, what's theirs, what somebody else's, and then to keep checking in on that. And sometimes scoring elements of this can be really useful. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this to that goal? And being able to check back in terms of progress, and 1 to 10, where's your skill set in relation to that element that you really want? Well, it's a 4. What would get you to a 5? So I think asking lovely open questions can be so powerful, and great stuff for you guys to know as well.
Thank you so much, Helen. So that's wraps up. Sarah never got around to doing the claps, did she? Maybe you can put some music on now if that's all right. But thank you so much for that tips and tricks, I think, because basically what you're saying is that coaching for those things around you to see what makes sense, and we always encourage people to be proactive and to that journey themselves, and rather than rely on people too much. So so now we know that career coaching is really important, and you can coach yourself to improve your career, but actually you need to know what your career is, what you want to do. So testing assumptions. I'm going to move on to some other really interesting topics as well, but you'll have to tune in.